Welcome to the Relationship Cycle with Jorge and Nelsa, where we discuss dating and other significant relationships. All right, we're back, everybody. It's the Relationship Cycle with Jorge and Nelsa. Jorge, welcome back to the show, my friend.
Oh man, we got a hot topic tonight.
Absolutely. Look, how to spot players and sugar babies, part 1 and 2. Um, I'm excited about this topic only because you and I did some discussion about really how do you keep yourself from being manipulated by people who are only out to use you either for sex or for money. And you would think in this day and time, we would have really um, evolved as a species beyond some of these age old games. I know you said you talked to a friend, Jorge. What was her experience?
Well, the thing is this is that when it comes to guys who kind of have, that player mentality, or now it's kind of evolved to fuck boys is what, the kids say these days, but it's basically same thing, just different name or different nicknames. But
Hmm.
the thing is that a lot of these guys are very charming. They're good looking men. They're charming. They're suave. They're good with words. And they have a way to really put you almost under a spell. So if you are not careful, I think we're both aware that when we start getting in our fields, or when we start catching emotional attachment to someone, it can get cloudy and it can get difficult to try to see what's right in front of us or right under our nose.
Right. And I think, as we've been trying to help people here, how do you get on in dating, in this new world of ours, especially post COVID? A lot of people are online. A lot of people are trying to get to know people. And sometimes I think I can remember when I first got online a couple years ago for online dating, it was a whole new world for me. And I tried to apply the traditional dating concepts to an online world that really had kind of left me behind as I had been married and dating the same man for 22 years. And so I had a whole different mindset with dating. Like, we're trying to meet somebody who we want to be in a very monogamous, very committed relationship. And so I missed the signs. I really was kind of strung along, um, thinking that somebody really wanted to spend time, get to know me, really build a relationship together. And really all he wanted was casual fun. And so it really kind of took me aback when he finally told me, look, you're really a nice woman and I've enjoyed spending time with you, but you're not what I'm looking for. Like, it was like a daggone polar ice challenge, like a bucket of ice water was just dumped over me because I had really developed feelings for this man, really saw us being compatible, saw us, moving forward into, something more permanent. And to hear him say, at which I can say, he was at least good enough to finally stop the game, where some men I think will play it out for as long as a woman will entertain their calls and their texts and, what are you doing right now? you know, I think that was the thing that I didn't recognize, never really having been in that kind of situation. It completely shocked me. And I think there's so many people out there, probably male and female, because it's not that women can't be players too and string guys along for money or meals or jewelry or bags or whatever the case may be.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
that's why we
Absolutely.
wanted to name the show that way, because I think sometimes we hear about men more so, but ladies have taken on some of those same qualities of kind of, and I've had, you know, women talk to me about how they really didn't want a certain man. He was really, a nice guy, but they knew they could get dinner and he'd take them shopping and he always took them on nice trips, but they had no desire to be with him, any kind of way, emotionally, spiritually, sexually, even. But they would do whatever they, needed to do to get him to take care of bills or, you know, just just keep up their lifestyle for them while they had their real fun with another man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so after, I did a little dig. I mean, obviously I'm well aware of the existence of, some of the games that go on between men and women, and it is survival of the fittest. And if you are not emotionally ready to date, you can get yourself in a bind and you can get yourself into some manipulation, and you don't even realize it's happening. And I
Hmm.
want to be very clear so that people are aware of, okay, is this guy a player, or is this guy trying to manipulate me for the wrong reasons? And number one, a lot of these men that like to play with women's emotions, they're usually emotionally unavailable
Hmm.
for whatever reason. Now, it could be because of past trauma, a rough upbringing, bad parenting experiences, mainly from their mother.
Hmm.
That's part of the stuff that the life coach, Breenie Lee, that I saw that she brought up, that a lot of them are carrying a lot of baggage and a lot of hurt,
Absolutely.
and we've established people hurt people.
Absolutely.
So emotional unavailable is number one. So
Hmm.
if you meet a charming guy, you meet a really good looking guy, and he's selling you everything under the moon and everything under the rock, but then he's like, but I'm not looking for anything serious, or I'm not looking for any kind of relationship, then
Hmm.
that right there is a cue that
Yes.
emotionally he is not there.
Right. Right.
um
And believe a
and
person when they tell you. Like, I think a lot of people, particularly women, I did it myself, project and hope, oh, he's got everything on my checklist. I think I could change his mind if I, show him, all these great qualities about me. If I do all these things, if I go through all this, this hoop game, I jump all the hoops, then he'll really want me, or she'll really want me, or whatever. And I think people don't really believe people when they say, I don't want to be exclusive. I'm not looking for a relationship. I'm looking for, the new Q, the hot buzzwords now for sex are, just looking for fun, just looking for adventure,
you know
um, just a good time. But, those are translating into, I just want a physical relationship, no strings attached. And most people aren't putting FWB, friends with benefits. That's not what they're tagging it as. And so if you don't know, you really are going to miss the cues when they give them to you at the front end.
Now, to be fair, right, to be fair,
Hmm.
if a man if a man is telling you, or a woman in this
Right.
scenario, right,
Right.
hey, I literally just been going through some things, or life's been, kicking me down a little bit, so I am not ready, and I am not looking for anything serious, or I am not looking to open up emotionally,
Hmm.
then they're being upfront with you.
Right.
But if you still decide to go down that path, then you need to be aware that, hey, this may just be for fun and for chills and for thrills.
Right.
And if you're okay with that, then that's fine. But oftentimes, what happens is that a lot of these people, which we just established, they tend to be very charming, very charismatic, and great lovers.
Hmm.
So, that in itself is enough to create that lustful sensation and feeling.
Right.
Because if you are able to give a person a great sexual experience, they're going to remember that. They remember that, and they're going to be like, man, he was awesome, or man, we had chemistry. If we can
Right.
just connect the other dots outside of the bedroom, we got something here.
Right. And
But
that's really projection, and it's not fair to the other person, especially if they are telling you up front. Like, I don't consider those players in my mind, because honesty is playing a part in that situation. They're telling you what they're needing, they're telling you what they're wanting. That's not mental mind games and leading somebody on to make them feel like, oh, you know, I really see something in you. I really feel good about this. There are all sorts of things that people will say that, kind of pump you up thinking that they're going down the road one way, but really it's not what you think. That's really lying and misleading and manipulating. But when somebody tells you up front, no, I agree with you completely, Jorge, that is not, to me, that's not a gamer. That's not a gamer. That's somebody who's being very explicit, very honest up front. And what you do is you're you're hoping for more, but they haven't promised you anything else.
right.
And you got to take responsibility for that. I do believe you on that one. I'm with you right there.
And I was another thing that I discovered from listening to this life coach is they love to create confusion, and
Mm-hmm.
inconsistency is part of their calling card.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, I mean, it's pretty well documented. I've dated a lot, and you won't believe how many times I've been out on dates and I'll ask women, hey, like, how long you been single? Or, how's dating life treating you? And they're like, well, I kind of been seeing this guy, but I really don't know what we were. We hung out a lot. We would sleep together. And that's the confusion, right? Like, they're behaving one way, but saying something else, or saying something
Mm.
else and behaving differently. So then the woman's like, okay, he's kind of into me. He's kind of not. And you're constantly chasing that high of that euphoric night or experience,
Right.
but he's stringing you along with little breadcrumbs, just enough to keep you on the hook, and just enough so that you don't walk away and leave him. And he's basically taking all your time
Mm-hmm.
and your resources. And on top of that, as far as your mental health and your self-worth, this has consequences for a lot of people.
Exactly. And it is chemistry. Let's face it. The brain creates chemicals, feel good chemicals, when somebody makes us feel good, whether they're saying things that we haven't heard in a long time, or, they tell you how beautiful you are. If you haven't heard those things in a long time, which is why, we've done several shows now about even checking in with yourself to see if you're even ready to date. Because if you're not, those, one article called it an emotional vampire. People who are sucking the life out of you. Like you said, they're taking your time. You're sitting by the phone waiting for them to call you for a date when you could have been out with two or three legitimate, you know, suitors or dates. And these guys got you lingering, hoping that they're going to call. And then it's 2 a.m. when they give you the "what you doing" text. And you've, and then you go. I mean, so, your self respect has, been lost at some point probably. And it's no judgment whatsoever. Like I said, I've been across my fair share of um, players now since I've been online, and it's a real education, I think, because if you don't know, you don't know. If you've never experienced it, um, it is an experience. I'm not saying it's a great one, but um, it's something that does help you to figure out, what you're really looking for. I always like to say, is a lesson or a blessing. Either this experience is going to help me learn something that I really needed to learn about people, or there's a blessing in disguise. And either way, it's still a blessing because I've learned how to avoid these types of men moving forward. But, sometimes you get your heart broken when you get caught up, like you said, in your feels. And, ugh, it's just, it's like, why does it have to be so difficult? You know, um, why can't people just be real and honest with one another and communicate about what they really want and find the right people for that? Because I'm sure there are people, like we're talking about sugar babies, there are ladies who are willing to be friends with benefits with certain men. So I'm just like, there's somebody out there for that need. You don't have to go breaking somebody's heart or twisting somebody's mind into pieces to get what you want.
Yeah, and I would say that when it comes to these kind of people, these kind of players, there's definitely a lot of gaslighting that happens
True.
where they're going to distort the facts and the reality so that it fits their agenda. And then the woman is the one left scrambling because they're like, wait, is he right? Maybe he is. Maybe that wasn't a lipstick. Maybe, that was a spaghetti stain.
Mm,
And you start to do that. But
right.
it becomes basically the wily coyote chasing the roadrunner.
Yes.
And you know how that
Never get an
ends.
anvil in
That
the
that
head.
you never catch that coyote never caught the roadrunner.
No, he kept catching a bunch of anvils, and that's about what dating these types do for you. Keep getting hit in the head every time.
And I
Um,
can and I can honestly say that I have female friends that we talk a lot about relationships and dating, and they'll describe some of the behavior that some of these guys conduct themselves in, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a fuck boy. Like that absolutely sounds like one unemotionally unavailable, only shows up for sex,
yeah.
and only wants to entertain you when it's convenient for him.
Right. Not even on your time. If you're interested in getting together for, dinner or, what you would consider a very normal date. Um, in this one article by Curtis Hughes, it's from fashionjournal.com. It talks about they've weaponized, quote unquote, the medium of the text and snap, like just enough interest. So some of the signs, I've been thinking about you, but nothing in particular. Like there's never uh, a concrete thought about you. It's just, I've been thinking about you, or what are you doing? And then you don't hear from them for hours and hours, or you don't get that text until it's wee hours of the morning. Um, and then it talks about, you know, a light to heavy sprinkling of misogyny. Like these are men who don't typically care for women in a healthy way. Like, I don't know if there's some issues that, we've talked about parent issues in one of our episodes, but I don't know if the fault maybe was in a parenting relationship, or the first woman that ever broke this particular person's heart. But the term doesn't even call them men but boys, because it's almost like they're just collecting toys and bragging to friends. And you know it's not a it's not like there's any real plan or any kind of real, I don't know, any real long-term gain. It's just a collection of people that I'm going to see if I can get you, tag your it is sort of the feeling behind it all, I think.
So let's take it a step further, right? So let's take it to the point where he's giving you enough breadcrumbs
Mm,
where you think that there is actually a relationship building or a relationship manifesting. Then you as a woman, you need to ask yourself, okay, every time we hang out, what does it involve? Does it involve other things, or is it strictly a sexual encounter involvement?
right.
Right? That would be number one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Number two, um, is he hiding me? Is he ashamed of me, or
Right.
does he always want to keep our dating situation or dynamic a secret?
Right. Do his friends know your name?
Do his friends and peers know anything about you?
Do you know them?
If
Does he bring you around them at all?
if you cannot answer those three questions in a positive manner, then he does not think much of you, and you are strictly a toy
Right.
that is being used and drained of its resources until he moves on to the next. And listen, I tell my friends all the time, look, if you're just looking to casually date, or you're just looking to have fun because you're trying to get your shit together, then fuck boys are probably going to be okay with you. You guys are going to have a lot in common. However, if you The moment you try to convert him into something that he is not, which is a commitment, serious relationship type of guy, that is when you're going to get hurt, when you start getting attached to him and start getting those feelings.
Right. Right.
And some women can keep their feelings in check, or they can, sense that they're starting to get too attached and they walk away. And some are not good at that. Let's be real. Some women, like, if they get intimate with a man, they're like, look, if I get intimate with you, I'm going to get attached to you. And then once you start getting attached, then forget about it.
Mhm.
Because if you love a person, you are willing to turn a blind eye on a lot of stuff.
Right. And, in the same article, there's a clinical psychologist that's been quoted, uh, Lauren Haywood. Um, she says, for a lot of us, the appeal is that we naturally think it's called the halo effect. It's evolutionary quality that people have, where you're attracted to the men who are the most confident or the most, the best looking in the group or what have you. And we always almost think that when somebody is attractive, we assume that they're also kind, smart, funny, etc. It says, which are all things that we would want to pursue in a person. But a good looking face does not make a good looking heart. And that's
Mm,
men and women,
wow.
unfortunately.
Right.
Uh,
No, that's spot on. I mean, that is absolutely spot on. I mean, it literally almost feels it's like a dog chasing his tail. Like these stories that I hear, and I'm like, I'll speak to my friends ever so often, and it's basically the dog chasing his tail where nothing has really changed. He's still standoffish. He still gives a breadcrumb here and there
mm-hmm.
to give you the feeling and perception that, hey, there is hope for the future.
Right.
And he's still sleeping with her. So this is what I've told my friends, because I've had some who have said, well, he does nice things for me, or, he's kind of a friend too. And I'm like, okay, so let's play this game. Obviously, he's going to check up on you because he still wants to sleep with you.
Right.
So as long as that's on the table, that's the minimum he can do, right?
Right.
Um,
But what
and the,
happens when you say, I don't want to sleep with you anymore?
and you know what? And that was the next step to my question that I said. I said, if you stopped sleeping with him, do you think he would still try to be your friend? And obviously, most were like, well, I don't know, maybe. I'm like, okay, really? Like,
Right.
can you honestly say that with a straight face? Can you say that with a straight face that if you take sex away, is this man still going to be in the picture?
Mm. And
And
the
listen,
best way to do it is try it. Like really put it to the test. Because I think the sooner you can figure out where things are going, the less your heart breaks. When you feel like you've put so much time and energy, a lot of people, and particularly I've heard females say this from my own experience, but we have so much time in. I have so much time in with him. But what kind of time? Were they magical trips? Were they you building a business together? Were they, you know, you guys really building a life together? Or was it magical moments at 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning? And is that what you want to fill your memory book up with when everything is said and done? So, Steve Harvey wrote the book Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man, and talks about the 90-day rule. And I think for a lot of people, a lot of times people have scoffed at that. And, like when we're grown people, we can, and I've heard players say this too. We're grown people, we can do what we want to do. Well, if what I want to do is honor myself and see if you're willing to honor me, then, try the 90-day rule out, ladies, or at least 30 days and see, because most players are not going to give you that long because they're on to easier prey.
oh
So
yeah,
they're not willing to
they'll
work that.
tap out. They will tap out absolutely.
Right. And that, gentleman, is for the ladies as well. You know, um, I'm not saying that, being a cheapskate, but be more creative with your date life and see what sort of woman she is. I love being out in nature and walks at the park and going to the lake and, doing those kinds of things. But if every time you ask about those types of outings, if it's always about going shopping or, going to the most expensive restaurant or, you know, excuse me, doing something that's always got to be over the top extra, then you might have a gold digger on your hands. You may not have a woman who is really about getting to know you, but who's really about getting to know your wallet. So these are kind of signs that, give them 30 days before you indulge in whatever it is that they want, whether it's sex or shopping or money or whatever the case is, and then see how things play out. Because um, a lot of people who are in it for gaming, they're not going to wait when they're easier marks out here. Trust me, they are not. And
Oh
if it's
yeah,
losing the long game
they'll
player,
tap out. They'll
yeah,
tap out and say, you know what, this is too much work.
right.
This is not worth my time, or this is moving way too slow.
And then if you still don't know anything about their personal life after 30 days, and you still aren't getting full conversations, but you're getting those little hit and run texts, or you call and they answer and say, one article I read said that if you get the text that they're so busy and they're very extremely specific about what they're busy doing. I'm at work, I got to go get my dog, I got my cousin coming to town. It's just been a crazy week for me. I won't be able to get with you. And every time you have a conversation, it's always extremely busy. You can probably believe that that's a relationship is not what they're after.
Mm,
We always say we want to be able to help educate our audience and, kind of hip you to what's going on out here in the dating world. And this is not, it's not something new, but again, like you said, Jorge, it's people repackaging the game, so to speak.
hmm
But
It's
deal
listen,
with
it is it's something that you really have to have your guard up,
it. Hmm.
and you really have to pay attention. And if you're not paying attention, and then once you get attached or once you start getting emotional feelings connected, it becomes very difficult to tear away from an individual like that.
Hmm.
But I feel that, like, I've told some friends, I'm like, look, I get it that you're okay with this being just super casual and super simple, of, hey, we hang out, we sleep together, and then we go on about our business. And I get that, but this is my opinion only, solely my opinion. I don't have anything of substance to put my finger on it, but I do feel that that interferes with your dating, because even if you're out on dates with a new person, you're still trying to figure out what old buddy's got going on,
Right, right.
or you're still worried, like, man, like, this guy's kind of cute, but I'm still holding on to Tom, or I still think that Tom can come
Hmm.
around, or I'm still hoping that he'll step up. So even if maybe in the forefront you don't think that's affecting you, in the back of your mind, or subconsciously, I feel like that does prevent you from opening up to somebody who really is genuinely interested in you, who really is looking for maybe something more serious and not
Hmm.
super casual and convenient.
Right. And, you go through phases. I mean, that's why our show is called the relationship cycle, because you do cycle through different phases. But, somebody who's still like, one of the questions that I like to ask, not to probe too deeply, but, you know, how long was your last significant relationship?
Mm,
Because that's very telling sometimes. It can give you a little insight into whether the person is suited for long term, serious, monogamous relationship, or if they are really a player, or a gamer, whatever you want to call it. So, that's one of those questions that I would say you could get a lot of information from. But one of the things you got to be careful about is don't gaslight yourself, everybody, because when we want to excuse behavior and give a reason that we don't have any real knowledge. Well, maybe, they had to work late, or maybe this is the only time they can really get free because they got other obligations. Well, ask those questions outright and see what you get told. And you know, be clear. Like, just be clear. I would ask, and I have asked before, where's this going?
Yep.
What are we doing? Because if this isn't going anywhere, then I just like to know so I can govern myself accordingly, is what I like to say.
And get your priorities straight, because
Yeah.
now you need to reframe your mindset that, hey, this guy just sees me as an option and I'm treating him like a priority, so I
Mm-hmm.
need to reframe the dynamic.
Perfect word. I love it. Yes. Reframe. But like I said, don't gaslight yourself and keep giving people rose colored glasses and the benefit of the doubt when all you're getting are, you know, quick texts, quick hookups and nothing else of substance.
And
Because
my thing is this. Listen, I've come across plenty of women who don't want long-term relationships because of other things that they're going on with their
hmm
life, or they just walked out of a relationship or marriage, so
right. Wrong time. Yeah.
they just want to find somebody that they can hang out with once in a while, and maybe, if the vibe is right, maybe get intimate, if that's in the cards. But as long as both adults are on the same page with that, then it's all good.
Right.
But
Because everybody's in
oftentimes,
agreement. Yeah.
you got two people with two different agendas, and then the feelings start to manifest, and then that's when shit gets messy.
Yeah. Exactly. So hopefully, um, this has been a good intro for people who maybe are re-engaging in the dating world and dating scene as to how you can, avoid this bump in the road. At least there's so many other ones, but hopefully this one has shed a little bit of light, especially if you haven't been exposed to a player. Like I said, your experience level is going to be different out here, and just we want you to be able to know what to expect and how to look for the signs, how to make a different decision, or at least if you're going to make the decision to jump in that boat, at least know what you're getting into. So,
And I do want to point this out to so kind of wrap up the conversation. I can tell you that I have had conversations with men
hmm
where sometimes they will make it seem that, hey, I got some emotional baggage, it's on me, or it's my fault. So that way the woman doesn't keep probing about, hey, what about working towards a relationship, or what
hmm
about being exclusive? Because a lot of these guys also don't like labels.
hmm
As when I say labels, I'm talking about, hey, are we dating and working
hmm
towards something? Or, hey, are you my boyfriend? Like
if you get,
those kind of labels.
yeah,
And I think, I don't know, I may have mentioned this to you or not, but my approach is, I do feel at a certain point, labels are important, because labels help you understand expectations. They allow you to set boundaries.
hmm
Now, when you don't have a label, let's say me and you, right? Let's say I'm your fuck boy, right? And you ask me, Jorge, I want to have a label, or I want to know what we are. And I just say,
hmm
well, you know what? Right now, we're just going with the flow, right?
right,
Then say if I go out of town, or if I go out of the country and I meet a pretty lady at the bar, and she asks me, hey, do you have a wife? Do you have a girlfriend? And guess what I'm going to say?
right. No,
No, I don't. I
exactly.
do not. And you see how convenient that
hmm
works.
Absolutely. So,
And then let's say you find out that I did something when I was, traveling or whatever. Guess what I'm going to tell you?
but we don't have a relationship.
You're not my
Mhm.
girlfriend.
Exactly. I don't owe you any loyalty.
You're not. Yeah, I'm not
Mhm.
your boyfriend.
Yeah,
We're still just hanging out, or we're just going with the flow. Remember?
exactly. So, know what kind of agreements you're agreeing to because, sometimes they'll give you the feeling of a relationship, but they're not going to give you the label. And that does make a difference. You're right, Pop.
I tell women all the time. I tell women all the time. Women that I'm close with, that I'm friends with. I tell them all the time. Or people that just want to hear my input. I say, do not treat someone like a boyfriend that's not ready for the boyfriend responsibilities.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Or as the ladies in my family used to say, he buy the cow if he can get the milk for free.
Oh man, we done took it there.
All the way
Oh
back.
my God.
Look, shout out to Londale.
Oh man, hey, listen, that is a classic. I've heard that one before. Yeah, ladies, guard your milk.
Yeah.
Guard that milk.
Gentlemen as well, guard your
Hey,
wallet.
make sure you put a little tax in it or something. Tax it or.
Yeah, absolutely.
But this is I feel like there's a lot of people that they're in these situationships. They just don't know how to get out of it, or they
Mhm.
feel so comfortable that they're like, you know what? It's just easier to just let it be than to having to sit down and just have that real grown up conversation.
Yeah, or for some people, just having a body. Some people have gotten to a place of loneliness. And, we've talked to several therapists on the show, and I still say, making sure that you are in a really good place with yourself, like that dating inventory we talked about. I think that's still so important. It can help you avoid putting yourself in a situation where you're compromising who you are and what you want for somebody who really doesn't care about you and who really isn't trying to honor anything about you, but just take from you and really get what they want and not even think about you. So, before you go down that road too far, consider really doing some inventory. And if that includes therapy or something like that, really do some checks with yourself and make sure that you're not settling for something that really isn't who you are or what you want.
Yeah, it's something that requires a lot of um discipline. It's something that you really have to stop and think, and not with your heart, but with your mind. And I get it, women naturally are nurturers. So when they see somebody who maybe has a lot of the qualities that are enticing, they're like, you know what? He has a lot of what I'm looking for. He's a great lover, great intimacy. We can work on the other stuff, or I can help him improve in the other stuff.
Hmm.
But going down that path can get you into big time trouble.
Absolutely. But it's been a great conversation tonight. And if you want to put in on it, please comment at Jorge and Nelsa at gmail.com. Let us know what your experiences have been. Let us know maybe some good tips on avoiding these traps that are being laid out for people that look like relationships, but really are situationships, right?
Yeah, so those situationships, they'll get you.
I know it. Another great show, Poppy. So we will be back. And thank you guys so much for joining us. We appreciate you and look forward to having you back with us next time. Don't forget to follow us on Spotify or Anchor and hit that bell so that you get notifications for when we have new shows. So until next time.
Buenas noches, good people. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us today on the Relationship Cycle with Jorge and Nelsa. Do you have show ideas? Email us at jorgeandnelsa@gmail.com. Follow us on Spotify or anchor.fm for more great shows.